Good morning, students. This is lesson number 1 of recorders for 4th grade or up. So let's take a look. This is our recorder. This is a very old instrument. I mean, they were using it back in medieval times, back when it was made out of wood, but now these things are made out of plastic. And there's some things we should look out for. These things can come apart, so if they ever come apart at home, that's totally fine. That's supposed to happen. This is called the bell of the recorder, and this is called the mouthpiece of the recorder. And this is called the body of the recorder, and we put them together so they all can play. If it ever falls off, it just twists back on. And you'd think on the bottom with the bell and the body that the holes would line up just right, but we wanted a little bit off to the right, just like this. We're going to find out why once we put our fingers on there. And same for up here, we want the mouthpiece, but this one does go on straight. We want this hole to line up with these holes. So speaking of holes, let's learn how to hold this thing, because in order for this to work, we need to be able to cover up all holes at once. So first off, let's look at the back. And on the back, we're going to take our thumb right here, and we're going to cover up the hole with the thumb. If we let any air leak out, it won't work as well, or won't work, period. Kind of depends which hole you're trying to cover up. You're going to notice that was my left hand. So it must be your left hand. If you can't remember which one's your left or your right, hold out your hands like this, and whichever one makes an L, that's your left hand. So that's my left hand right there. We're going to add the thumb. We're going to add first finger, second finger, and third finger. Pinky is going to stay not used for now. Now we're going to take our right hand. We're going to put our thumb on the back, but there's no hole to put on the back for a thumb for a right hand. Instead, we're going to put it on the back side of this top hole right there. So we're going to put our thumb there. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and remember when I said we want to have this a little off to the right, because our pinky is much shorter than our other fingers. So if it's straight on there, it's hard to make it, but we make it a little curved off to the right. And now it's easy to put down. And now we can cover up all the holes. Let's do that again. We're going to add thumb, add 1, 2, 3, and that's your left hand, remember, using your left hand, and then right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The only finger we don't use is this pinky right here in the middle. It just kind of hangs out right there. So, that's how we hold the recorder. That's how we put the recorder together, but how do we play this thing? Well, we're going to let go of all the holes. It doesn't really matter which holes you cover up. Actually, it does. So, why don't we learn our first note first? So this is our book right here. I'm going to put down the recorder for a second. This is our book right here. You would have gotten a packet sent home, and that's our book, this one. And it starts right up here. This will look familiar. That's how to care for your recorder, which I'll let you read at home. And then a bunch of extra information, but we're looking for number 1, because that's the first song we're playing right here. Number 1. And we've already had lessons on how to read music, so you should be able to read the rhythms on this music. It's just quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes, which I never really talked about because they're 4 beats. They're pretty easy to count. But our first note is right here. It's B. B. And then, if you look at this diagram, it shows you how to finger the first note. Finger means what fingers go down on each note. So it shows you how to finger the first note. Let's take a look. I'm going to pick up the camera here and look a little closer. If we look at that diagram, we have a line right there in the middle, and that's what separates the left hand from the top. And one more thing you should see is there's one little hole off to the side, and that's the thumb right up there. So any black circles filled in means you're going to cover up the hole with your finger. So if the thumb and the first finger on top are covered, that means we're going to do the same on the recorder. We're going to go thumb, first finger. And that's how we play a B. So in order to make the recorder sound, we blow into it. But it's a little more complicated than that because you can blow into it a few different ways. What if I blow it way too much air? Ooh, that doesn't sound good. What if I use too little air? Doesn't make a sound. So we kind of have to be in between. With recorder, you want to err on the side of using too little air because it's way too easy to what we call overblow on the recorder. If we use too much air, we get this. And it just does not sound good, or it squeaks on you if I used even more. Instead, use the teeniest tiny amount of air you can use. I want you to go ahead and hold your hand out from your face like this. I want you to breathe in and let the air out. If you could feel the air on your hand, that's too much air. So you need to use even less than that. So let's try it again. Breathe in, breathe out, and you shouldn't be able to feel it on your hand. Breathe in, breathe out. All right, if you're able to do that, then we're getting closer, but hand should be about this close now. Breathe in, breathe out. If you could feel the air on your hand, you still are using too much air for the recorder. Breathe in, breathe out. And if you slowed the air down enough where you can't feel it on your hand, that's how much you want on the recorder. It's a teeny tiny amount of air. So let's do some echoing. Remember last year's, we would do echo patterns where I would clap, you'd clap, then I'd clap, you'd clap. And we go back and forth and back and forth. So let's do some echo patterns on this, on the note B. Remember, thumb, first finger. You play. In order to make it work, you need to be blowing air, but you also need to be using, it's the biggest muscle in your, it's the most flexible muscle in your body, not your tongue. Your tongue is actually just a muscle. Just like in your arms, it's just a muscle that's inside your mouth. So what we're going to do is say 2, 2, 2, like the number 2. Say that. 2, 2, 2. Now this time I want you to blow air instead. So this time it's, but instead of just blowing air, you need to use the tongue as if you're saying 2. So 2, 2, 2. Blow the air using your tongue to control the air. I'll do it, you do it. And lastly, we need to make that happen on the recorder. Just the top part right here goes into your mouth. That way it makes room for the tongue. If you put too much in your mouth, then it gets in the way of the tongue. We don't want that. So, and that's called tonguing. We use the tongue to control the air. Otherwise, if we're pushing from our stomach down here, we get more of a sound like this, which we don't want. We want to use the tongue. 2, 2, 2, which sounds. And that's how your professional musicians that play wind instruments like this, or saxophone, or trumpet, or trombone, or tuba, all those different instruments, they tongue, and it gives you more control of the air. You can do more impressive things if you start now. So, echo with the B. One more thing, if your note is not sounding just right, maybe because you don't have your thumb down. Remember, we want to cover up the hole right there with the thumb. We want to cover up the hole right there with the thumb. Let's do some more echoes. I think we're ready to start playing a song here. So let's look at number 1. It's called Just B, and that's because every single note is B. Now, how do we figure out which note is B when we add another note? Well, B will always be on what we call the staff. That's these 5 lines. You'll notice it has the middle line of the 5 going right through the note right there. And anytime you put a note right in the middle on this staff, or any staff, it's going to be a B. So anytime you have a note on the middle staff, it's a B. And if you follow the notes throughout this whole song, you'll notice they are all the note B. Every single one of them. So we don't have to worry about changing notes as if we were playing we're going to worry about that later when we add notes. Right now, it's just B. So we're never going to switch notes. We're always going to keep our thumb and our first finger down for this song. Now, you're going to remember how to read rhythms here. But just in case, maybe we have a new student, or you're just having trouble remembering, I'm going to fill you in. Remember, these are called quarter notes, and they just get one beat. So if this is the beat, we would play this first measure, do, 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 do. They all happened on the beat, do, 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 do. So if I was playing it, it would first measure. Remember, measures are these boxes. You can see that line right. Come on, focus. You can see that line right there. That's the end of the measure. Here's measure 2. Here's measure 3. Here's measure 4. So in measure 1, we would play. Our beat is this. Do, 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 do. Let's try that. First measure. Go ahead and bring your recorder up. Thumb and first finger. I might switch hands sometimes because I have to point, but remember, it's always left hand on top. Get used to it now because you don't want to have to learn to play with the right hand on top and then have to switch later. That's called breaking bad habits. Do it right now the first time, and then you don't have to break bad habits later. But I'm going to switch to the other hand because I'm pointing. Ready? First measure. 1, 2, ready, go. And that's it. If we look at the second measure, we have different notes. We call those half notes. And half notes get 2 beats. So if this is the beat, we would hold the note out. We'd keep the air moving and go, do, do. Did you notice they got 2 beats? Do, do. Here it is again. Do, do. So if I'm playing the recorder, it would be. And you noticed I kept the air moving for 2 beats. Here it is. 1, 2, ready. Whereas in the first measure, it was all 1 beat. Second measure, it's 2 beats. So if I put those 2 measures together, it's going to sound. Did you hear the difference? First measure, we played 4 of 1 beat. Do, 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 do. Second measure, we played do, do. Third measure looks just like the first measure. If you guess that, you're correct. It's another do, 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 do. Let's play that. 2, ready, go. So, if we're playing the first 3 measures, it should end up sounding do, 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 do. Let's play those first 3 measures together. Ready? 1, 2, ready. All right. Fourth measure. Whole note. Right there. Whole note gets 4 beats. So we hold it out for quite a long time. Do, off. Do. Let's try that. 1, 2, ready. So if we play all the top measure, we have. And guess what? We just played the first line of our first song. So congratulations. Let's do the bottom line. Now that you have all the skills to be able to do that, I wonder if you can sight read this. Sight read means you've never seen it before. We're going to give it our first shot. And sight reading should be hard. If it's too easy, you're playing too easy a song. Your first read of the song should be difficult. If you get 100%, you don't mess it up, guess what? That's a good sign, and you need to get harder songs. Luckily, as we go number 2, and then we go to the other page, number 3, number 4, each new song gets harder and harder. So the good news is, if this is too easy for you can just go to number 2. If number 2 is easy for you, go to number 3. And every time you go to a new song, you get better. By the time you finish this book, you're going to be solid. You can go on to book 2. All right, so let's sight read this. Ready? Do your best. 1, 2, ready. Pretty good. So those first 2 measures were all one beat. Do, 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 do. Third measure, that is a half note. It gets 2 beats. Do, do. And then the last one is that whole note that gets 4. Do. You hold it out a long time. 4 beats. Let's play it again. 1, 2, ready. So here's what I'm going to do, how we end the songs. We will always work through it just like we did, a little bit at a time. Then I'm going to give you an example how to play it. So I'm going to play the whole song by myself so you can hear it. And then I'm going to play it with the backing track. All these songs come with a backing track. I'm going to give you an example of this song's backing track. Then we play. And you can hear a recorder back there. Really open up those ears. You can hear the recorder in the song, and I'll follow along with this. And then we'll do a final performance, and then from there, you can judge. If you 100%ed that final performance, you're ready to move on to number 2, even if you missed one note. You need to rewind and do that final performance with me again until you 100% it. We do not move on to songs until we 100%. No mess ups. That's how we get good. If you go to the next song too quick, you made like 3 mistakes, it only gets worse. You have to 100% the song, no mistakes, before you move on to song number 2, and we get harder and harder. So let's go ahead and start that. I'm going to do the example song, then I'll do the play along, and then we'll do the final performance together. Here we go. Here's my example. 1, 2, ready. Cool. Remember, 1 beat, 2 beats, 4 beats. Let's do it with the recording. I'm just going to point, not play this time. And 1, 2, ready, go. Great. And let's do the final performance. I would pause now and do a few playthroughs yourself, because final performance, we do tackle the whole thing. And you'll notice I forgot to say that this song repeats. When we get to the end, we go back and do it one more time. So this song we play twice. And that's because if you look right here, there's 2 dots in front of that last note. It might be hard to see, but that means we repeat the song and we do it twice. All right, let's give it a shot, everybody. Remember, this is thumb, first finger, B. We don't have to worry about switching notes yet because it's just all one note. That's why they called it just B. Final performance, here we go. And 1, 2, 2, ready. Very good. Remember, I switched hands because I had to point, but we always use our left hand on top. This is the left. If you didn't 100% that song, rewind, do that performance again, and keep working it until it's 100%. Once you're done with that, you can move on to lesson 2. All right, guys, keep practicing. 100% those songs before you move on is the key to being able to play this thing. And this translates to all other instruments. This is our starting kind of easiest instrument. You can just bring it up, makes a sound. But most instruments take a lot of work before you can even make a sound on this thing. So this is the teacher's choice of first instrument for students, and that can lead to any instrument after that. Your trumpets, your guitars, your violins, your drum sets. This is a nice first start. That's teacher's choice first instrument. That's why we learn this thing. So, 100% this song. See you for lesson 2. Keep on practicing.